Okay, so I want to quickly summarize the two methods that we've used mostly for the table method and the prime factorization method for the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. And then we're going to try and think, what is the highest common factor multiplied by the lowest common multiple? So I've already filled in this table that we've got here. If you remember, the highest common factor are these numbers, the 2 times the 2 times the 3. The lowest common multiple is the 2, and the 3, but it's also the 2 and the 15. Then we're going to have a look at it from this one that we have here. So remember, we split them into the different sections, and we're going to find out what the highest common factor. Now remember, highest common factor, you go for the lowest power. Lowest common multiple, you go for the highest power. It's kind of the other way around that you've got there. So highest common factor, lowest power is 2 squared. The lowest power is 3, and the lowest thing here is actually the blank. So it's just the 2 squared and the 3, which is equivalent to these yellow ones that we've got here. So I'm going to highlight these in my 2 squared and my 3 that I've got. Now for my lowest common multiple, it's the opposite of what you'd expect. The lowest common multiple, you're going to pick the highest power. So it's going to be our 2 to the power of 3, our 3 squared, and our 5. And you can see that from over here because we have the 2 cubed, which is corresponding to the 1, 2, 3 2s, 3 squared, which is going to correspond to the 3 and the 3 that's inside the 15, and the 5 also is inside that 15. So that's kind of where those numbers are equivalent in these sorts of things that we've got here. Now my challenge is, what is the highest common factor multiplied by the lowest common multiple? And I think this side is going to be easier for us to examine this with. So let's just look at it with this example that we've got. The highest common factor multiplied by the lowest common multiple. Well, there's a 2 squared and a 2 cubed from these two that we've got here. We've then got a 3 and a 3 squared, and we've got a 5. So let's tidy this up. 2 squared times 2 to the power of 3 is 2 to the power of 5. And 3 times 3 squared is 3 cubed. And then we have the 5. Well, I'm wondering if you can spot, what do you think this is related to with these original numbers? Well, I think you can see it here actually. 2 cubed and 2 squared. Sorry, 2 cubed and 2 squared here, 2 to the power of 5. 3 and 3 squared, 3 cubed, and then the 5. If you multiply these two numbers together, the 24 and the 180, you get this. So you actually get 24 times 180. This is going to be true of all the numbers. Okay, so any time you find highest common factor and lowest common multiple of two numbers, if you have the highest common factor and lowest common multiple, you will get the same parts as the original numbers. So you have the 3 and the 3 squared, because one of them are the losing powers and one were the winning powers. So we can actually come up with like a little rule here that the highest common factor multiplied by the lowest common multiple is equal to A times B, where A and B were the original numbers. And I'll just show you that. The highest common factor, which probably should have worked it out for this question, is 4 times 3, which is 12. And then the lowest common multiple was 8 times 9 times 5, which I think is 360. I'm just going to double check. 8 times 9 times 5, yeah, 360. So if I do 12 times 360, it's 4,320. And if I do 24 times 180, it is also 4,320. So you get the same answer if you do the highest common factor times the lowest common multiple, or the two numbers multiplied together. So this thing that we've got down here is going to be pretty useful to solve some more tricky sort of like higher problems. So let's have a quick go at these ones that we've got here. I've said that the highest common factor and lowest common multiple of 12 and x are 6 and 300 respectively. Find the value of x. Now there are obviously other ways of doing this, but this is probably, I think, the neatest way. So we know that when you do the highest common factor, which is 6, and the lowest common multiple, which is 300, we know that those two multiplied together is the same as the original numbers being multiplied together, which is 12 times x. Well, I'm not even going to bother multiplying these together because actually I can immediately try and divide by 6. If I divide this side by 6, I will divide 12 by 6, which is 2. So 300 is equal to 2x. I'm then going to half both sides, so I get that 150 is equal to x. So the value of x is 150. So that means our two original numbers were 12 and 150. I'm just going to prove to you that 6 is the highest common factor and 300 is the lowest common multiple. They are both in the 6 times table. 150 divided by 6 is 25. The highest common factor is 6. The lowest common multiple is all of them multiplied together, which is 6 times 2 times 25. Yep, that is 300. So we've definitely found the correct value for x. So I want you to have a go at this question that we've got here, and then I'm just going to do one final exam question. So pause the video and try this one. Okay, so the highest common factor of 35 and y are 7, that's the highest common factor, and 2,695, that's the lowest common multiple. So 7 multiplied by 2,695 is equal to 35, the original number, multiplied by y. Obviously, I could have written 35 times y, but we know that's just the same as 35y. Now, instead of actually calculating this thing over here, I can divide this side by 7, and I can divide this by 7. If I divide this side by 7 to get rid of it, 35 would be replaced with a 5. So I've got 2,695 equals 5y. So all I need to do now is divide by 5. 2,695. 5 goes into 26, 5 times remainder 1. 5 goes into 19, 3 times remainder 4. And 5 goes into 45, 9 times. So that looks like y is going to be 539. Let's just double check that that works. So I'm going to do, I might do the prime factor decomposition method here. So we're going to say that it's 35 and 539. 35 is 5 times 7. 539, shift fact, is 7 squared times 11. So picking the highest powers is going to be a 5, a 7 squared, and 11 for the lowest common multiple. Yep, 2695 for the lowest common multiple. The highest common factor, on the other hand, is the lowest powers. So it's going to be a blank, a 7, and a blank. The highest common factor is indeed 7. Okay, let's have a look at the question that's on this next page that we've got here. It's an exam style question, final one to think about. So you might want to pause this and have a go. Just weird numbers, same logic, but just weird numbers. It says find the highest common factor and lowest common multiple of the following numbers. Well, you might like to write them as a list. We've got 101 to the power of 85, 101 to the power of 83, 101 to the power of 86, and then 2 times by 101 to the power of 70. Now remember, lowest common multiple, you pick the opposite, you pick the highest power. So in these different sections of these numbers, the highest power here is a 2, and the highest power here is 86. So the lowest common multiple is 2 times 101 to the power of 86. And you're just going to leave it in that form. You don't actually need to do any calculation. The highest common factor is the opposite way around. You're going to pick the lowest power. So the lowest power here is going to be a blank, and the lowest power here is going to be 101 to the power of 70. So even though these look like weird numbers, they still might ask you questions that are in this prime factorized form, and you can give your answer just like this. So that's the end of this playlist here. I hope that it has given you all the things you need to help you with your maths. Found this video helpful? Then why not drop it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. This is the end of the playlist, but head to my channel's homepage to see what else I might be able to help you with. And as always, wishing you the very best for all your studies.